My Life, Its Legacy and Message by Pandit Sri Ram Sharma Acharya. Chapter 12, Transformation of the Physical into Astral. Sukshimkarana. Ours are momentous times of revolutionary change of an era. I have been divinely directed to act as a dynamic agent over the next 20 years to ensure a smooth transition to the golden era that is beckoning humanity. The work which has been done during these past 8 years, since 1980, is much more than what was done during the preceding 30 years. Due alertness and wisdom have been exercised, so that the needed energy was available to carry out the tasks in hand. One can hardly describe the vigilance, concentration, resoluteness, and industriousness which with these 8 years have been spent. The establishment of 2,400 Pragyapitas, 12,000 Pragyasanstans, and writing of one folder daily are the directly visible manifestations of this work. But all the rest is invisible, indirect, which cannot be accounted for in visible terms. There are still 12 years left of this transitional period of Yuksadi. The wheel of change will move with far greater and baffling speed during this period. It will be necessary to minimize destruction and promote refinement and growth. At present, the speed of both these phenomena is slow, and with such a speed it will not be possible to attain the goal by 2000 AD. The speed will, therefore, have to be accelerated. In this, I have to play the necessary role of a vulture and a squirrel. In times of war, the responsibilities of a commander and a cook are equally important. Nobody can ignore or disregard his duties in days of emergency. It will be necessary to simultaneously fight on several fronts during this time: reaping of harvest, feeding the cattle, treating the sick son, attending the court on the date of the hearing, welcoming a guest visiting the house, and such other chores are sometimes required to be attended to by a householder at the same time. During war, the responsibility of the commander becomes all the more grave. He has to decide on the number of soldiers to be deployed on a particular front, make arrangements for regular supply of arms, ammunitions, and rations, ensures that the hospital is kept well equipped, well stocked with medicines, well manned to attend to the injured, make speedy arrangements for disposal of the dead, and also prepare trenches for the next encounter. Attention has to be paid simultaneously to all of these aspects. If there is any weak or missing link in the chain, the whole battle strategy will collapse. I have been asked to enormously expand and diversify my activities, and the physical frame is becoming more and more a limitation and a hurdle in the execution of the new tasks. It is limited and can work only in a limited sphere. When the actual work which has to be done extends over a vast infinite sphere, how can this be done? One of the many ways is that the physical body be abandoned, and whatever has to be done be accomplished with the help of one or more astral bodies. If my director will consider it expedient to do so, no time will be lost in actualizing it. There is one drawback of the physical body, that the law of karma phal, result of one's own deeds, always pursues it. If there is any balance of give and take, it is carried forward to the next birth and has to be settled there. Ramakrishna Paramhans had granted boons and blessings in abundance far in excess of the accumulated capital, and so he had to invoke cancer to settle the account. Mahatma Narayan Swami had to also suffer such a disease. Guru Golwakal died of cancer. There are several such instances in which pious, holy persons had to spend their last days in physical agony. This is not the result of their sins. Such great persons take the miseries of others on themselves. If they are unable to repay, they settle the account in their last days, thus leaving no balance of karma phal for future. The basic question is of sukshimikarana, of human soul. Sukshma is more extensive, comprehensive, and multifarious. It can simultaneously work at various places and discharge various responsibilities. Physical body has the limitations of space, time, language, etc. By entering into the astral Sukshma plane, all these limitations disappear and exchange of thoughts becomes easier. Thoughts can be directly communicated in the astral plane, and language does not act as a barrier. This is the greatest convenience. It is only the physical body that has the necessity of migration and movement from place to place. A man can hardly walk about 3 miles in an hour. A person has only one tongue with which he can speak and express himself. But there is no limitation in respect of the organs of the astral body. Its powers of vision, hearing, and speaking are several times more in comparison to those of the physical body. An astral body can transform itself or appear in several bodies. At the time of Ras, Sri Krishna appeared to be dancing simultaneously with several gopis. At the time of death of Kans and Swayamar of Sita people saw Krishna and Ram in different figures. What Arjun and Yashoda had been seen as was nothing but a glimpse of the astral, causal, and celestial forms of Bhagavan Krishna. It is not possible for everyone to attain this stage after leaving his physical body. Evil spirits, ghosts, do remain in astral form, but they remain in a crude, natural state. They can simply indicate their needs to persons who are related to them. The souls of the level of Pitars are more capable as compared to the ghosts, and their behavior and wisdom are more lofty on the account of maturity. Special efforts of the standard of tapasya are needed to make the astral body highly refined and elevated. The next step on the path to upgrade an ordinary human being to the level of Siddha Purasa is Sukshmikarana. Such persons, while living within the confines of a physical body, acquire divine powers, and with them they serve and help others. But there are also persons who acquire siddhis, which are described as anima, mahima, laghima, and etc. in the Yoga Shastra. So long as physical body is there, it cannot become lighter or heavier, visible or invisible, nor can a man fly in the air or walk on water due to the inbuilt limitations of the body cells. If somebody narrates such siddhis on the basis of rumor or hearsay, it should be regarded as hyperbolic. The question is of sadhana, which I am doing at the present. It is a special sadhana which can be done while living in the physical body also, and has to be continued even after abandoning it. This stage cannot be attained without heightened, concentrated self-effort, tapascharya and sadhana. This can be regarded as the next phase of yoga-pyasa tapascharya. What has to be done for this depends upon the present stage of growth of the aspirant and the level of guidance available to him. There cannot be one uniform curriculum for all, but one must restrain himself from misuse of the powers gifted to him by divine grace for egoistic purposes. An egg remains in the shell so long as it does not get matured, but as soon as it gets matured, it breaks the outer shell, comes out, and starts running and flying. The practice of Sukshmikarana is almost similar. In ancient times, people lived in caves and practiced samadhi for this very purpose. Detailed description is found in ancient scriptures about souls living in astral bodies. There is such a description in Mahabharata in a question-answer dialogue between Yudhishthir and Yaksha. Yakshas, Gandharvas, Brahmarkashas were all different categories of souls living in astral bodies. 5 Veers used to live with Vikramaditya. The attendants, Gans of Bhagwan Shiv, are known as Virbhadras. Ghosts, Prets, Masans are of different category. Those who have read The Lamp of Alauddin can get information about these types of people. In Chaya Purusha sadhana, separate entity is created from one's own person, which works as a powerful invisible colleague of the sadhak. Most of the souls living in astral bodies have been described as malevolent or of a lower order of creation. It is likely that in those days, warriors with unfulfilled desires at the time of their violent death became such low-level astral souls. But, side by side, ancient scriptures are full of descriptions about Devarsis living in astral bodies. Rajarsis and Brahmarsis were those who lived in physical body. But those amongst them who had the capacity to work in astral bodies were known as Devarsis. They could assume ethereal forms and roam in space and other lokas, subtle cosmic worlds. They could suddenly appear at any place to give guidance to the devotee and seekers. References are available about several rishis who were not restricted to walk on the ground only. Even at present, several travelers in the Himalayan region narrate that on losing their way, someone guided them to their destination. Several persons have seen invisible yogis appearing and disappearing in the caves and on the hilltops. Such stories are prevalent about the lamas of Tibet also. The Theosophical Society is of the view that even at present there is a group of Devarsis in the central parts of the Himalayas who are engaged in the task of achieving universal peace. They have termed them as invisible helpers. It has to be borne in mind that this community of Devarsis is an extraordinary evolved type of beings. Like yogis and Siddha-purusas, they are far more capable, as compared to human beings, in rendering service and help. But it is wrong to assume that they are omnipotent and are capable of instantly fulfilling the desires of or conferring boots on any person. The rule of karmfal is paramount, which can be reduced or negated by God alone. It means of the result of one's actions. It is beyond the power of man. Just as a physician rushes to help a patient, a rich man helps a poor and needy person. In the same way, Devarshis living in astral bodies rush, from time to time, whether they are called upon or not, for promoting righteous attitudes and deeds. Still, none should take it for granted that personal effort or industriousness is not necessary. Here, the best example is of Gurudev, who lives in the Himalayas. As he lives in his astral form, he can live in environments where there are no adequate means for maintaining physical life. He guides and helps me from time to time. This does not mean that I was not required to do anything or did not face any difficulty or was never unsuccessful. But it is certain that I would not have been able to achieve all this with my own limited human capacities. With his divine help and guidance, my enthusiasm and morale have been far more higher, and I have overcome the trials and difficulties of the path with unflinching faith and infinite patience and courage. This is not insignificant. Only this much should be expected from others. It should not be expected even from God, and that He would come and even do the self-effort on our behalf. Whenever one refers to divine help, people think that it is a magic illusion. Such credulous people lose their faith easily. We should expect timely help from divine powers from astral souls, but should also be prepared to discharge our responsibilities. Failures and difficulties should be regarded as lessons to be learned, and the next step should be taken with greater caution and courage. Astral bodies are more powerful than the physical ones. They can see and hear things from a great distance. They can visualize future events, and they possess the power of conveying their thoughts to others. They have helped several persons in overcoming adversaries. Just like our visible world, there is an invisible world linked with it, which is inhabited by beings with astral bodies. Some of them are quite ordinary, some are mischievous, while some are of highly elevated level. These elevated souls take interest in the life of affairs of mankind. They extend their help in reforming evil persons and in making good persons even better. This is all about beginning with astral bodies and the astral world in general. The primary aim is of spiritual refinement, elevation, and upliftment. Ours are extremely critical times. Elevated souls living in the material world are doing all that is within their power to do, but it appears that this will not be enough. Powerful beings on astral planes will have to use all of their powers in not allowing those who are possessed by evil tendencies to slip further down the abyss. The process which is going on the physical plane to reform these perverted souls is not adequate. Invisible help is needed to make it easier and more successful. This will be necessary for the solution of collective problems, as also for making persons who are engaged in righteous pursuits shine out with still greater glory and strength. Ever since I have been entrusted with such a work, there has never been any dilly-dallying or let-up. I have been working for quite a long time now on the guidelines given by my divine guide, and this will continue till I am alive. It is necessary to make Herculean efforts to free the visible and the invisible spheres from the strange hold of the poisonous grip of the evil forces. For this, something drastic has to be done, as was done by Hanuman in the ancient times by uprooting a mountain and procuring the plant possessing the power to revive life. I was required to get immediately engaged in awakening and activating the dormant divine energies involved in the physical body, and in the pursuit of this aim, I have resorted to severe tapascharya, or sadhana in seclusion.